Alright lads, Imperial Bodybuilding here, bringing you the latest bodybuilding news. So lads, we need to start the show off today with Nick Walker. And I'll be honest, going on Instagram and social media, Nick has come under that much criticism over the last couple of days because of his performance at the Olympia. Now when I saw him at prejudging, look, the first thing that I thought in my mind was, he's outside the top 3. He might not even get the top 6. I just knew as soon as I saw him that he was off, that his coach had messed up, that Nick had messed up. It's almost like they've been prepping for an Instagram show rather than the Mr. Olympia show. At prejudging, he looked like a fridge. You know, even the shape wasn't there because he lacked conditioning and he lacked the fullness and the hardness that we were used to seeing at the Pittsburgh and the New York Pro. When he came out for finals, I was thinking, okay, now we're talking. Nick is looking more full, he's looking hard, he's looking denser, more conditioned, and he was just popping more. Even the confidence, like on this picture that you can see, it was more reminiscent to the Nick that we all know. So my question to you is, if he would have came out like this, okay, the damage was already done. As soon as we saw him at the prejudging, it was game over for Nick. But if he would have just come out like this, grainy, 3D, dense. Now we see him in a comparison to Hadi and Nick, and still in the finals, lads, this wasn't the best Nick Walker, I can tell you now. The conditioning just wasn't there. Even though Tyler Mannion, as you will hear in a second as we hear the review, will say that Nick had the condition, I do not agree. Nick was not conditioned. But in terms of just the density, he would blow. It's hard to get a comparison here. Obviously, this is just a Photoshop image. But Nick Walker, when he's on, would blow Derek and Hadi out the water with size. He's the biggest lad on the stage by miles. And I just think when you're going into the biggest competition of your life, you don't need an amateur coach in Kyle. You need a Krizo, a Chad Nichols that have been through the fires. They've prepped the best athletes in the world and they have a proven track record. You don't start going to amateurs that have never even prepped an Olympian competitor. It's absolute bizarre. Now, as I said, they went back to the drawing board after prejudging and they came out a lot better, but it was too late. And you just need to listen to Tyler Mannion's assessment now of Nick and listen and tell me what you think.
Up in 6, we had Nick. I think Nick's condition wasn't really bad, but he just wasn't really on. And when I say on, like everything was a little bit flat for him. He didn't really have the greatest pop to his physique. I think the main issue for Nick was his waist just appeared very wide, I would say, on stage. He did a better job of keeping his midsection controlled for sure, but the waist just seemed very wide in a lot of the poses, especially when you're looking at him from the front double and the front lat spread. Even the ab and thigh, just he has deep abs and deeply separated abs, but the waist just looked really thick. And even when he was doing his most muscular, which is still a very strong pose, you can see that waistline just wasn't coming in as much as it has in the past. Even as recently as Pittsburgh, I thought that waistline was definitely tighter. Because the midsection got wider, I don't know if the legs, especially from the front, the quads actually went down, or I think it's just the illusion of the waist being a little bit wider. So that's what happened there with Nick.
Now, it's strange because Tyler actually said that Nick's condition was good. I don't know which show that he was watching, especially in the prejudging, but Nick's conditioning was terrible. Yes, the flatness wouldn't have helped, but the conditioning, the fullness, the graininess that we're used to seeing, it just wasn't there. And then Tyler was right about the stomach. It's almost like, and I don't want to say this, Nick is only 31 years old, but Phil Heath, the bigger that he got, the bigger that his waist got. Keone Pearson, the same thing happens with him, or is happening with him. The bigger these guys get, the bigger the waist. And Nick's waist has always been problematic. Honestly, if he has any chance to win the Olympia, Nick can't sacrifice the size. That is his strength. Like Samson Dauda, Nick relies on the strength. But honestly, lads, I think because of the stomach, I do think that Nick will never win the Olympia. It hurts me to say it, but I have to be honest. I think that he can finish top 3 with a great coach. But lads, I think that there's scar tissue built up. I think there's a number of factors that are not helping Nick Walker's guts. I want to know what you think. Can Nick Walker come back and win an Olympia? He is only 31 years old. Let's not forget that Phil Heath won his first Olympia at 32. And lads, I am not comparing Nick Walker to Phil Heath. But you know what I'm trying to say. Is it possible for Nick Walker to come back next year with a Krizo and win or finish top 3? Let me know. And in other news, lads, Samson Dauda has come out recently today and said that he also missed his peak, and he messed his peak up. If you're lean enough, you're depleted enough, all you need to do, and especially with a good coach, obviously you play around with your salts, you manipulate the salts and the water, the sodium, but if you're lean enough, all you need to do is fill up. And it seems that Samson is in denial, because Samson was wasting away. You know, he said that he didn't carb up enough, but lads, you can see here, Samson lost the fullness, he lost the pop, like Nick Walker. But because Samson was chasing the conditioning, he completely sacrificed the fullness, and he came in looking like a 2020 version of Samson Dauda. I don't understand that. Okay, look, it's his wife, and he trusts his wife. Let's not forget, and let's not criticise Marlena. She's won a Mr. Olympia title with Samson, but they won it. Okay, listen to me. Samson is an elephant, okay? Samson is never going to be a tiger. When I say that, a tiger is elegant and a tiger is stealth, aesthetic. Samson is an elephant. He's huge, he's monstrous, and that's his strength, even though he's got beautiful shape as well. He sacrificed the mass for a tiny bit more condition, and I'll be honest, he was that flat on the Olympia stage that you didn't even see the conditioning show through. What I would do, he says that he's going to do the Arnold. That's what we think he's going to do next year. So if he does the Arnolds, we know he's qualified for the Olympia for life. But what I would do is put the overwhelming firepower on in terms of the size, and then just kill the conditioning. Just absolutely go balls to the wall with the condition, because Samson's strength is his size. And if he loses his size, then he's never going to be as conditioned as Hardy. He's never going to be as conditioned as even Nick Walker or Derek Lunsford. It's just not going to happen. It's not in his makeup. But his strength is that overwhelming 310 pounds on stage. That is his wow factor. So if he sacrifices that, and you even see it now on this video, he's not his usual full self. Even on the quads, they lack sweep. The delts lack the pop. I don't understand how Samson hasn't seen a top-class coach before the Olympia, 4 or 5 weeks out when he was at Romania, and said to him, look, Samson, you're eating away at your body, pal. You need to fill out, and you need to fill out quick. But no, he ignored the warning signs, and he went to the Olympia flat, and that's why he finished 4th. Because Samson, on his day, he has the structure, he has the mass, and that's his strengths. Play to your strengths. That's what won you the Olympia, but come in better. But lads, let me know what you think. Where did Samson go so wrong at the Olympia? And do you think a 4th place finish was justified? I honestly felt sorry for him, because I've never seen a Mr. Olympia drop 3 places. Samson was disappointed. I was disappointed because he's a fellow countryman. Let me know what you think in the comments, lads. Okay, and last but not least, I want to talk about Keone Pearson. Keone Pearson, when I first saw him, I thought, okay, looks really good. Obviously, he's got the great shape. He's just got amazing genetics. But then I thought, he doesn't look that good. And then I saw everyone else in the open, and I thought, okay, it's definitely the lighting. But the more and more I look at Keone, the more and more that I'm impressed. I honestly believe, lads, that this is the best bodybuilder in the world. He's got absolutely everything. He's got the X-frame. He's got the symmetry. Like, you look at the biceps and the triceps, perfectly balanced, perfectly shaped. The only criticism I have two criticisms. One is the height, which is obviously a genetic factor. And then 2 is the stomach. He is falling into the Phil Heath category. The bigger that he gets, you see the midsection is also, and I'm not just talking about the separation in the abs. I'm talking about it's distended. It's distorted, and it's very soft. This is very, very concerning, because let's not forget that Phil Heath probably would have won 10 Mr. Olympia titles if it wasn't for the stomach. But we have to call Keone out on it. You see it here. There's some kind of deformity now starting to appear in the lower abs. And even though his physique up top, the arms, the shoulders, 3D, he's got that Phil Heath-like Ronnie Coleman-esque look. But if we see here with Phil Heath, to the left was 2018, to the right is 2011. This is what lost him the title. One of the most dominant Mr. Olympias of all time. And I'm not saying that Keone is that bad yet, but lads, you must be able to see that the bigger that Keone gets, the less appealing that the midsection is looking. Let me know what you think. Is it going to be that bad? Because he's going to be competing next week in the Prague Pro. And structurally, he destroys Martin Fitzwater. And Martin is very well balanced. But when it comes to an anomaly like Keone, a genetic freak of Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath-like proportions, look, he blows Martin Fitzwater out the water. The only place that Martin has him is the midsection. My question to you is, and my concern, is that if Keone goes into the Open, he's going to have to put on another 10 to 15 pounds, which I have no doubts about that he can do. But that midsection is going to grow even more. And it's going to come to a point now where it's being addressed by the judges that they're going to have to dock him points. This is my concern. I'm not saying that he's finished, but I do think you understand where I'm coming from. It happens to all of them. It happened to Ronnie. It happened to Dorian. It happened to Phil. Let me know what you think in the comment section, lads. Is the stomach a big problem for Keone? Will it prohibit him from winning the Open and even the Prague Pro next week? Let me know what you think. But I would say that Keone is probably my favourite, unless Michael Krizo can turn up. Now, Krizo, he didn't do the Olympia, so he's coming fresh. He's coming battle-hardened with time off. He's coming with striated glutes, which we've never seen from Krizo. I honestly think that Krizo, just because of his sheer size, that he's an absolute more than a match for the likes of Martin. I think he's better than Martin personally. I think he stands out. He pops more than Martin. He's bigger. But can he beat a Keone Pearson, who is, let's say, the gift? He's a mini gift. I don't know. I think this is going to be a clash of the titans. Let me know what you think in the comment section, lads. If Krizo turns up 100%, if Martin turns up 100%, as well as Keone at 100%, who wins? Let me know in the comment section. The Prague Pro is going to be one of the best shows of the year. It's going to be stacked. It's going to be incredible. But I honestly think that if Krizo turns up, I think he's going to be too much for Keone and for Martin. Let me know, and if you haven't already, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, lads.